So, welcome to the main cut. I'm your host, Jade, tutorial hairstylist Julienne Moore. Julienne has done some incredible work from having her work published in the LA Times to working Fashion Week, supporting celebrity clients like D Smoke, Lion Babe, Tasha Cobbs, George Clinton, and so many more. So, today we'll talk to Jules about how she managed to navigate her way through the industry and get some advice from the up and coming stylists who are interested in following her footsteps. So, welcome to the show, Jules. We're really excited to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited as well. Thank you, Jade.
No, I mean, one, I know it's early where you are, and two, I know you're busy. So, we're really happy and really grateful to have some of your time. But for those that aren't familiar with you and your work, first, let's start with a bit about your journey into the hair industry. How did it start? How did you get to where you are now?
Okay. So I started my hair journey in California. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. And I really had a passion for working in the industry where I wanted to change the game. Now, that was many years ago. I didn't even know what I was walking into. I was like, I don't know who and what. I just knew that I had a passion. I started doing hair at home, and I was like, I want to live somewhere different besides San Francisco. So I went to beauty school. I lived in New York for a little bit, came back to San Francisco. I went to beauty school and I went to a Paul Mitchell program. And I was like, if I'm going to go to beauty school, I got to make sure that I go to a school that's going to really teach me everything but my own hair. So and at the time I used to say, I want to learn white hair. And I felt very ignorant when I used to say that, but I used to be like, no, I want to learn how to do white hair. And then later, once I got in school, I learned like all these different textures and the importance of texture and everything like that goes into like product knowledge and application. And so I moved to New York, and then I actually was a makeup artist for a long time. So
Oh.
as a makeup artist, as a makeup artist working for MAC for many years, it gave me a platform into the fashion world. And that's how I started working in fashion. And I did a little bit of BET and TV work in New York. And then I decided, well, you know what? I see those girls over there burning hair, and she's not properly blow drying, and she's not properly flat ironing, and she looks like she's in pain. She looks uncomfortable. And they were the black models. It were always the black models. The black models were always uncomfortable. And so, because of my ambition, I used to go to the hair area and be like, "Hey, who are you working under? How did you get here? Like, who do I talk to in order to be in hair?" Because working for Mac, we had to do trainings, and we had to go through all these different trainings and certificates and all these things in order to be in fashion. But the hair world was a completely different situation. You had to work under people, not the company. You had to work under people.
Mhm.
People had to sort you out and decide, okay, you're good enough to be on our team. And even sometimes, even when they didn't know me, I didn't touch hair. I just would be hanging out, handing them products or like cleaning up the area or,
Mm.
whatever. And so that's basically my introduction into the hair world. I was just like, hey, and anybody who knows me is like, no, this girl right here, this one grinds. I'm like, yo, what's
Mm.
up? How did you get here? And they'd be like mid style. You can't tell me like, oh, that's the lead. Okay, and then I would research the person and then find their agent, and then I'd email the agent. And so that's how I was able to get into the hair side. And I tell you, once it's such a blessing to be on the hair side, because once I got on the hair side, that's when my career and just so many things just started happening within a short time, because it was like, no, this girl is good and she's fast, and I'm versatile. So
Mm.
it's put me in a lot of good spaces, and I'm very grateful for it.
No, that's amazing. And I mean, a note on being fast and versatile, because I feel
Mhm.
like those are two things that are really needed in this side of the industry. Like when people are transferring over, they probably don't realize it until they're in the hot seat. But
Mhm.
time
Yep.
is of the essence always.
Yes.
And the more, like you said, the more different textures that you can actually cover, the easier it is for you to kind of get in and stay in.
Yeah. And you get to choose your lane. I think
Mm.
that a lot of people don't realize that, like, because I'm such a great braider, but I'm also great at other things. right?
Mm.
And so a lot of times people will be like, listen, if you don't want to braid, you shouldn't even say that you know how to braid, because you're black, they're gonna put you in braiding. And I used to be
Right.
like, what? It made no sense. Oh, be careful saying that you're a braider. You're good at it, but if you don't want to be stuck on braids for every job or be hired because you're black to braid, you have to avoid saying that you're a braider. And I
Right.
think that that's just crazy,
Mm.
because the idea is if you're black, you should know how to braid, right? So if that's the thing, if we should know how to braid, then why can't we say we're braiders? Who
Mm.
happen to know other things. So I
Yeah.
had an interview with this agent that I wanted to work for in Italy. And this was like a few years ago. And I was like, okay, I'm going to maybe try to go international. And she told me, if you want to get hired as a hairstylist, you could say you're a hair and makeup artist, but say you're a hairstylist that happens to do makeup. Don't say that you're a hair and makeup artist. And I'm
Uh,
like, why? Why can't we say what we are? And
mm.
so I feel like as a woman of color, we always have to like say, even if we're good at everything, you can't say that you're good at everything, which is weird to me. And that's
Mm.
something that I'm still learning what to say to people. So now I just say I'm a hair artist,
Okay.
whatever. Call it what it is. I'm a hair artist. Thank you.
But it's like you said, it's understanding how to navigate your way through the space,
Mhm.
because part of the world that we live in is, okay, what's the world that we want to create, so that when the people are coming up behind us, they don't have to deal with all the nonsense,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you've also got to know how to play the game so
Yep.
that you don't get stuck.
Yep. Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
can be such a painful thing to do, because part of you is like, but I can do all these things, why can't I just say it?
Yeah. It's a challenge. It definitely is a challenge. And sometimes I don't even sit next to the black people, especially in Fashion Week. Nope. Nope. Never. I'm like, I'm gonna sit next to those two people, and they're usually not black, because for some reason we naturally like to gravitate towards one another,
Mm.
and sometimes that hinders us in those spaces. And people don't get it. They think because they're booked, that's good, but like, you're booked, but you're booked for the same thing. And is
Mm.
that what you want for yourself, right? For me,
Mm.
I know that that's not what I want for myself. So I always choose the other route. Hence to why I went to a beauty school to learn white hair. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be put in like this bubble because I'm a black woman
Mm.
and you only think I know how to do afros. I come in with this big hair. I come in with this, and then people see me in different styles. I come in all these different
Mm.
styles, and you only think I know how to do a short afro? No,
Mm.
that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here for.
But it's really wild that, again, even in those spaces, you're having to even navigate the people that you're choosing to interact with,
Hmm.
because even that can cause that, in theory, that shouldn't cause a problem. If you want
Hmm.
to sit down with somebody because you get along with them, or because they're fun, or because you want to learn from them, they should be able to be any color of the rainbow, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Yep.
And but it is, and so that in itself speaks to kind of like a lot of the politics that exist in the space, that
Hmm.
people are having to work their way through at the same time as just having to be exceptional at their job.
Yep. Exactly.
And I mean, for you transitioned, like you said, from makeup to hair. So what was your first big break into the hair industry?
So I saw an advertisement for his name is Gerara, and I wanted to really work with him. And it was for many years. I had been watching him for a long time. But again, I didn't know how to get in the hair industry. So I was just like, all right, I have my license. Maybe that'll get me in.
Mm.
No, half of those people aren't even licensed. It's like, and I'm not saying he isn't, but half of the people aren't even licensed. So I'm like, how are people getting it? People aren't going to salons. Are they going through agencies? Like, I was so confused. So, anyways, there was an application that he put online, and he occasionally does it. He'll say he's looking for new assistants, and you fill out this job form or this Google Doc, and ask a series of questions. And that's basically how I got in. I did my first helmet laying show with him, and I touched one model, and he didn't know me. Um, a lot of times when you're in those situations, you don't really even interact with the hairstylist. You end up interacting with either their first or their second assistant, and
Okay.
sometimes their manager or their agent. And yeah, that was like my moment. And that season, I got asked to go to Milan and Paris. And I was
Wow.
like, yes. And I had no money, no money. At that
Wow.
time, I was traveling from San Francisco to New York for Fashion Week. I used to come every year, every season rather.
Mm,
I recently stopped doing it just because of it just it's a lot.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I got asked to go, and here I am texting like my family. I'm texting my boyfriend. I'm like, hey, like this is a dream that I've always wanted, and I need to get there.
mm,
And I didn't even realize how normal it was for hairstylists to get the opportunity to go to Europe until I got there. Makeup is a little bit different. Like I'm still kind of learning. Like even if I don't really get back into makeup doing
mhm,
shows, I kind of want to know how to navigate through the makeup world because it's similar, but makeup is I don't know, it's just a little bit different. I feel like
mm,
hair looks for like a little bit like if they kind of mirror you or they have that type of flavor. And so in that application, I was like, listen, I'm a Black woman who's destined to work with Black people. I want to be able to change the game. I want to be able to like re inspire, change, be able to treat people good. Like, I just wrote this whole like long message, and I was like, I hope he read it.
mm.
Um, I'm like, I hope he read it because I'm so passionate about working in the fashion world as a hairstylist. I just was like, I need to figure this out. So yeah, that application helped me get in the door.
Wow. And then when you were there, you said that you touched one model. What was that whole experience like? Because that must have been something completely different. So you were in a different seat.
Yeah.
You in a similar environment, a different seat. What was that like?
It was a challenge because the other part of assisting in fashion is you have to know and understand your lead's style.
Um,
Like if you don't like you can look at pictures and be like, okay, this person likes to do, really textured wet hair, right?
mm,
Whatever. Or they like to add blonde, or they like to do, certain cuts,
mhm.
or they like to do the bun a certain way. Because backstage, the techniques are very different from salon.
Yeah.
So if you don't know their style, even when they do the demo, you still may not accomplish the look because you don't necessarily understand their style. So you have to work under people for a while before you really understand their style. And so it was a challenge because every time it was his assistant, it was funny. It was his assistant. It was me and this guy because you always work on teams. That's the
Yeah.
other thing about working in shows. You should never be working by yourself. There should always be someone there who's handing you a comb, a
Right.
curling iron,
Hmm.
whatever, pins. Because in that world, if you don't show that you're working together, they don't like that.
Oh.
They want everyone to look busy even if you're not busy. So even if you're sitting there handing pins or you're like organizing the space,
Mm,
um you know going to go grab products, whatever, for the person who's like
yeah.
really good at whatever they're doing, if you don't showcase that, then you look, I don't even know what you look like, but I just know that they want us to always work together.
Yeah.
And so I was working with this guy that had been working on his team for a while. And yeah, we were having some challenges. But you know what? I was really grateful for, because every time they came over, they'd be like, and then they walk away, and they come back, or we bring the model over, and then, they stand and they do the look, and they're like, you know, and it's funny
Mm.
because I'm like, I don't know what you want. I did that ponytail 3 times. I don't know what you want at this point. I don't know. But it worked out. She got on the runway. She did her thing.
I mean, and it got you open doors to Europe.
Yeah,
So you did it right.
yeah. I did something right. I don't even, and then you don't know what you do right. That's a whole nother thing. You're like, I don't know what I did right, and if they don't rehire you, like, I don't know what I did wrong. So that's
Mm.
the other side of it. That's like, I don't know. It's weird, but. they also don't have time to talk to every single person, you know.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, there's
no,
some that will critique you and go out their way and like really chat with you, and then there's some that are like whatever, you know, they just move on.
interesting. I mean, that must be a really. My next question is, what are some of the challenges that you've faced as you've been in the industry? But I guess even feedback is one of those challenges, right? If it's
Yeah.
just more of a head nod or a shake.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm one of those people, like I like feedback.
Mm,
I'll try to ask, even if I ask the assistant, um, and I don't always ask like, oh, what can I do better? Or like, what did I do wrong? Or like, what did I do right? I'm more so ask, I don't know, I've just learned how to be like, so what's the expectation here? Like
mm,
what are you guys looking for?
mhm,
Or what'll get me hired again? I'll ask those
mm,
questions, and I usually ask the assistant. So if they have downtime or while they're working, they'll give me some information, or I'll ask the agent. I became cool with a couple of agents where I sometimes could text or email them and ask them certain questions, because I'm just
right.
like, look, like I know that I want to be signed to an agency. I know either signed to an agency or be in the union, either way, because I work in TV and film as well. And I'm just
Mhm,
like, at this point, I was actually talking about this last night. I was like, at this point, I don't even know what I want, because there's so much. And
mhm.
because I'm in California, I'm limited. I feel like with California, I'm stuck in celebrity and commercial.
Right.
Whereas in New York, you get more fashion, you get commercial, you get a little bit of everything. You can even be a person that goes to like a lot of events, like ambassador who has representation for brands. Like there's just so much more in New York. And
Mm,
so lately I've been feeling like California, I don't know. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. So yeah, a lot of times I am having conversations about how to make my situation better, so that
mm,
I'm not traveling on my own dime or paying for my own hotel, or
mhm.
because as an assistant, like I know people who've assisted for like 8 years, maybe 10 years,
Wow.
and they still have their own stuff going on, but they still assist. And for me, I'm like, I want to assist, but I want to assist people that are going to help me progress in the industry. Otherwise, I'm always working under you. And at
Mm,
some point, like that's not going to work. You know what I mean? Like I have kids, I have a family. I can't I can't pay $1,000 to go to Europe and work under people and then hope for change.
mhm.
And because I'm in California, it's harder to get those clients and get that business going, because the industry is just it's just very different in California. It's very different, and I'm still learning, but it's very different.
No, I can imagine it is. And I mean, on assisting, that's something that, we've spoken to a lot of people on the podcast that have moved from assisting to being leads and head ofs. And that's a whole process, right? Because
Hmm.
you start by assisting, but like you said, you don't want to be there for too long,
Hmm.
because that's also not where the credit lies.
Hmm.
That's the kind of thing that can really transform people's careers.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, what has been, your experience of assisting, and how you trying to shift your career now?
I would say like now I don't assist as much as I used to. I try to assist people that I admire or I could see myself like.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, financially, a lot of times we don't get paid up to, like, I think in California the rule is 90 days, right? And it's like, so when I calculate what I've done financially and how I've spent,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always worth it, because yeah, unless it's like a really good brand or a really good designer,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time I'm like, I'm not available,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like at this point I should be much further, but because I started in the hair side later, it's taking me longer, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be 40 in a couple of years, so it's like I have to start thinking wiser. And so what I do is I usually assist people that I really admire, that treat me good, that their pay schedule is decent,
Mm-hmm.
or that they work with companies or designers that I could see myself working for. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for the past year. I've just been like, all right, is this something that I really want to do? Is this something that feels right? Is this something that feels worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And I've really been tapping into like prayer, like really asking God to really like guide me in this journey, because I am such a I feel like I'm such a gypsy in the industry. Um, like someone even told me the other, what was it, last week? They were like, "You're such a unicorn." And when someone tells you that, you know, it's kind and it means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But these people don't see that unicorn. They don't understand that. Like for me, I've said when I get to a point that I could really lead, I'm gonna make sure I talk to every single assistant and share something with them that they can walk away with. Because
Yeah.
for me, I'm that person. When I'm working, I want to learn from people. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel like what I'm doing makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's a hairstylist name is Joey George. Every time I see him, I'm like, hey, you know, I'll ask him a question. I've even had a few, you know, chats with him, and like he's really helped me to understand when to say yes and when to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another guy. His name is Danilo Dixon. He used to be Gwen Stefani's hairstylist for many years. I work with him a lot in LA, and he's another one. I was like, "Yo, is this like a good idea? Like, does this make sense, or how does this?" And you know, with the California mindset versus like the New York mindset. New York mindset is more like just say yes until you can't say yes anymore,
Right.
right? Because the grind is so different.
Right. Right.
Whereas in California, or specifically LA, it's like work for people that you know is going to put you in the right position,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to position yourself differently in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to work with people who are going to refer you or pass jobs to you, um, who are going to inspire you, maybe teach you on spot. So yeah, yeah, especially I mean, there's a lot of black hairstylists in LA, but not everyone works on set. A lot of people have their own thing going on because there's
Right.
so many different things that's going on. So they don't work on like sets. So they're not doing like photo shoots or commercial or campaigns. They're not doing, some of them just work in salons, or some
Okay.
of them do the hair at home because they're hired as the braider. They'll do hair at home and they're not actually on set. So they'll make their money off set.
Okay, okay. No,
Yeah.
that makes sense. It's just really interesting to see how it's different depending on where you are, because location is also so key in understanding like where you want to go,
Yeah.
because that can have a huge impact on the trajectory of your career. So
Yes.
again, how is location? You've kind of mentioned that, New York and LA are very different, but in terms of location, what is like the next step for you in terms of where you want to be?
So because I've lived in New York already,
Mm,
probably not New York.
fair.
Um, I've I've thought about it. Like maybe I should come back. Like I'm here, and when I'm in New York, it's a different vibration. The city has such this like a strong vibration. I feel like the minute your feet hit the ground, it's like go time,
Mm,
and don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel. Like you're about to start running, all right? And so make sure you got everything you need before you start running.
mm,
But I've worked with some of the sweetest people here, some of the sweetest people here that I'm always like, dang, I want to come back here. Man, I want to work here again. Oh, I want to live here. Um, but it's probably going to be California. You know, I
mm.
might start deciding to open a business. I mean, just to throw a little curve in there, I'm in school to be a preschool teacher.
Oh,
So for
amazing.
me, it's probably going to be really focused on California, and possibly working on having more private clients
Okay.
that or that do events. I have a client in LA. She has a hair company, a braiding hair company, and I've been working with them a lot. And I do hair and makeup for them. And so, like, they just got in Target, which is a big deal for them. Shout out to Slay. Um, so yeah, like I have really been pouring into that
Hmm.
because I like the idea. I've always said if I'm gonna have a client, I like to have clients that I can see myself like, but
Hmm.
I pour into them and they pour into me, and we could grow together and then build a business on top of a business on top of a business on top of a business.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because the assisting aspect of it, I don't have the energy like I used to. I
Mm.
realize that. Like, nah, I'm not gonna just
Yeah.
stand here and just hand you stuff. There's so much more I could be doing. I could just be doing so much more. So it's
Yeah.
more than likely I'm gonna stick with LA and just keep just taking my time and building it little by little, um, and just growing there and taking over California.
No, that's amazing. And I mean, on the client side, there's so many different challenges when people kind of step into the industry. There's getting in the first place. There's finding the right people, like you said, the people who are going to advocate for you when you're not in the room and are
Mm-hmm.
going to bring you into the rooms that they're in as well. And then there's also finding the kind of clients that are also the type of people that you really want to do work for,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not always the easiest thing. Like when you're working with talent and when you're working, like say, with other stylists, it's like finding the people who in some way, even when the work is hard, bring you that bit of joy. You're like,
Yeah.
actually, they're a really nice person. I enjoy working with them even when it's hard.
Yes. Yes.
And so how have you found that side of the industry? Because that's a whole other thing of its own, trying to find the right people that you want
That
to do work with.
I don't even know. Like I want to go into my spiritual aspect of it, but like I don't know. I think I've learned to walk in rooms and just smile and say hi to people,
Mm,
and I can tell if this is going to be a good situation. You
mhm,
know, how fast do they jump up when like, we have to do something, or are they going to tell me, this is the next step, or are they going to just like expect me to like follow behind them? I don't know. Like
mhm,
I just have my weird way of connecting with people. I wouldn't say it's weird, I should say that, but it definitely is like a vibe thing for me, like what,
mhm,
like their energy and like how they are. And a lot of times I'm quiet. I'll be cool with a lot of people, but a
mm,
lot of times I'm really quiet. So I'll come in and I'll say, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning. All right, I
mm,
see you." I'll throw a little comment out there, and it's genuine.
mm,
And I don't think people are used to that. So when people are used to it, when they're accustomed to being seen, those are
mhm,
usually the people that I'm cool with. Those are the people that I have these really good discussions with.
mhm,
Those are the people we exchange social medias. Those are the people who
mhm,
I repost. They repost me. These are the ones who've shared jobs with me, brought me on
mhm,
for assisting, referred me to whoever the go-to person is for whatever opportunity. Because at one point I was always getting hit up to come to New York, like every other week, and because it was different hairstylists. But
mhm.
because I'm not here, I was like, it's been crickets for a while, and I'm
Right.
okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I can't. They'll be like, "Oh, when are you going to be in New York?" Uh, what does it pay?
Mhm,
Is it
mm,
worth it? No, not really. I don't want to do that.
mm,
So yeah, I've just learned to just trust my gut and build a relationship. And so then I'll see those people again and we chat like we never left each other. And it's almost
mm,
like a family reunion, especially when you work in fashion. It's like 20 of us or 30 of us sometimes.
mhm.
And we all have our little pockets of people that we chat with and make small talk with. And because I don't see them on a regular basis, it's like a family reunion when I reconnect with these people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just trust my gut and let it be what it is. I can tell when people are really hungry and
Mhm.
want it, and then I can tell people who are really hungry and they will step on your toes to get there.
Yeah.
You can actually tell because, like I said, when somebody just jumps up, because let's say there's like, all right, guys, we're gonna, and then they just ready to jump up and they're like right in the person's face.
Mm.
So there's a friend for everyone, right? But not for me. Like, I don't necessarily want to connect with somebody that's always like in the face of the person because I feel like that's an indication that like you're you would step on my toes to get
Mm.
where you want to be, and that's not cool because we all are talented in different ways, you know. And it's not right to necessarily judge people, but sometimes it is a form of judgment because I'm like, you're far too hungry. Like, it's really
Mm.
not that serious. There's 30 of us. Trust
Mm.
me, if you're going to be seen, you're going to be seen. I've been at the end of the table and been asked to come to the front of the table because I was
Mhm.
seen, you know?
Yeah.
If you got it, you got it. If it's in your
Mm.
spirit, you got it. If it's for you, it's for you. You don't
Mhm.
need to be extra. You should be able to just naturally be seen. So
Mhm.
yeah, but that's how I deal with people.
No, I mean that's fair, and I guess in an industry where it also feels like there, I think a lot of the time people feel like there's not enough to go around.
Mhm.
So that can create that behavior as well, where people feel like there is a need to step on people in order to get to where they want to get to because they feel like there's not enough space for anybody anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, on that, do you think that there's actually enough representation when it comes to textured hairstylists on sets, or even hairstylists, black hairstylists that can do all textures? Is there enough representation of those people on sets?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't think there's enough.
Mm.
I don't think there's enough people on set that do texture,
Mm.
specifically 3 to 4.
Okay.
I just feel like there's not enough of us. Um, I always use this reference where I like, this is probably really bad, but whatever. I'm always like, let me look around and count how many people I relate to. And
Mm.
that tells me what people ultimately want to hire. That's even on an assisting team.
Hmm.
And even if I'm only working with like 2 or 3 people. And
Hmm.
then I look at the makeup side too. And most of the time, the leads are white. Most of the time, especially
Okay.
in California. Most of the time. The ones that are always booked and busy are white. I don't know
Okay.
why. And I've been trying to figure it out. And I think because there's just not enough black people on set. And that's just me and experience and what I'm seeing.
Hmm.
I feel like there is enough to go around if more of us are in the position to create the space for us. If
Hmm.
there's enough black leads, then I feel like you would see more black people on set.
Hmm.
But because you see, like, you'll get like a lead that's white, or maybe sometimes of another race, right? Or like they may be Asian,
Hmm.
or sometimes they're foreign, right? They're from different countries, from like Australia or some parts of Europe.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like they'll hire us because they have at least one black talent.
Right.
And sometimes it's to make those people comfortable, those models comfortable. We may
Mm.
not even touch them, right? It's that's from like it's I don't. Sometimes I'm like, I don't understand the system. Why y'all just didn't hire a black person? Why you didn't hire 2 leads? Why does
Mm.
that person have the better idea? But when I'm here, I'm telling them what we should do on the black model. Like, that doesn't
Mm.
make sense to me. But whatever, that's the industry. So and 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 because California doesn't have a dominant amount of black, or like I would say on a higher scale, black creatives,
Mm.
there's a lot of black creatives, but they're not on that, like, they get booked for like Louis Vuitton, or they get booked for like these really big jobs, like, or they get
Mm.
booked for like Coach, or they get booked for like
Mhm.
Marc Jacobs, or they get booked for like all the brands that come to LA to work. They
Mhm.
don't always they don't reach out to people like us. They reach out to whoever has like an agent. That's a whole nother conversation, honestly. If you look at the roster in agencies, you don't see that many Black people. So how
Mm.
are we going to get jobs if you guys are not putting us in those positions
Mm.
to create the space? So for example, like if I have a if I'm not signed and I have a friend that's signed that's Black, like yo, help me get in so that way
Mm.
there's another person of color,
Mhm.
another Black person, another Black woman. You know what I mean? Like that's how we should be able to operate so that way there could be more of us. But if there's
Mm.
not more of us, then we're just sitting here complaining about it.
Mm.
Right? So, but I do feel like there's enough to go around. There's enough going around, period. Even if, because most of our industry is international for fashion. So
Right.
if we want to be able to go to places like France, well, somebody has to teach us that that is an option. Because years ago,
Mm.
I didn't think that that was an option.
Okay.
So when I worked with Gerard, I was like, oh, this is so easy. But really, it's just a blessing in the situation. I was blessed to be able to have the opportunity.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's I like I said, I feel like there's a lot going on. There's enough to go around,
Mhm.
but there's not enough of us in the position to create more options. So like in New York, there's a couple of people who have their own companies where they're building teams, right? And they're people of color, and most of them, you know, they're Black. Most of them are Black women, actually.
Mm.
But because we don't have that in California, because I can't think of, I'm like, I can't think of anyone. No, there's not. There's no one that's like, I'm gonna create this team full of Black people, and then
Uh,
I'm gonna push them into jobs that I can't take. I don't know anybody in LA who is doing that. Only in New York. And I know makeup artists who are doing it too, but it's not in LA.
oh, okay. And it's like creating that space for opportunities for other people because you
Mm-hmm.
can't say yes to everything, and anything that you say no to is going to go to somebody else anyway.
Exactly.
So if it's going to go to somebody else, it may as well be somebody on your team
Right. Right.
at that point.
And then if we talk about rates, like we could talk about rates because that's a good conversation. Like
Mm.
the average rate that an assistant makes is, let's say, $300 to $400
Right.
for um just working on set for a 10-hour day.
Right.
Right. That's a campaign.
Hmm.
But if you do editorial, do you know they pay only like $100 to $150?
No. And that's going to be the same hours, if not longer.
Yeah, it's the same. Yep. So magazines, all if they don't, I sometimes I'm like, some of these jobs I'm like, magazines don't really, or whoever is responsible for hiring for, they don't really pay.
Wow.
And I think because of the publication, maybe you get seen so many times, so maybe they don't feel like you need to get paid. I don't know what the necessarily what the leads get paid, but I
Mm.
know that when I worked on a magazine, I won't say, when I worked on a magazine, the
Mhm.
lead was like, they're not even paying me my rate. I was like, and you're traveling from New York? This is crazy.
Wow.
They were like, I'm not even getting paid that much. So this is all I can offer. And I was like, well, I guess I'll take the offer because I also want to
Mm.
work for the magazine, but also I'm like, this is crazy. So anytime it's a editorial, it does not pay well, which I think is why a lot of people try to get more into commercial because commercial pays well.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Still trying to figure out why. Because we're still doing the same amount of work. Even though editorial can be more creative, it's more fun. It's usually what people want to see. It's what
Mm.
people. It's what the consumer sees that we've pushed the bar. We've went to the next level with our creativity, but it does
Mm.
not pay as much as like throwing a couple of waves in someone's hair or like slicking it back in a bun, and you barely can see the hair. I don't
Wow.
know. Still trying to understand that because I'm like, we're working, we're here. Why aren't we
Mm.
making this solid money either way? And even like sometimes even $400 is not enough for the
Mm.
day. You know, especially if you know that your lead is making like, you know, 3 to 4 times more than you. It's like, come on, like I'm doing the equal amount of work. You know, so
Mm.
that's the part of assisting, and I'm like, you could just take a client for $400, make a
Yeah.
wig for a client. You know. and just make $400.
That's that's wild, especially considering how much sacrifice is involved in the job.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you've got to, like I say, it's 10, 12-hour days. It's navigating your way already through a system that's hard enough as it is. It's you might you might spend several days on a set. You might end up having to be called in at God knows what hour for who knows what or who knows who.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to make all of that sacrifice, again, when you're at the beginning, it's okay to say, okay, I'm at the very beginning, I'm not necessarily going to get paid. But once you've been in it for a few years, I think it's fair to say that anybody would expect that their pay should begin to match their effort.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm crazy. I've got on flights. I remember coming to New York. I'll never forget this job. I came to New York. I was like, I'm going to do it. Whatever. I'm going to do it. It's for this magazine. They paid me $150. I spent money on a hotel, Lyfts and Ubers,
Mm,
whatever, and my flight. And it 150 was just like just a tip of what I spent.
mm,
But I was so ambitious and I wanted to sacrifice for that job
mm,
because I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be it was one of those moments where it was like, okay, so I'm not going to be on a team of 30 people. I'm going to
mm,
be on a team of like 5 people. And I want to
mm,
be and I want to be I want to show that I'm serious about this.
mhm,
And it's helped me. It's definitely helped me. The sacrifice has helped. Um But when you do that for like so many years, because people do it for a long time, I'm like, do you realize that you spend all this money trying to get somewhere, but do you actually know where you're going with it?
mm,
Because you're good at what you do. I've come across a lot of really good hairstylists.
mhm,
I'm like, and why have you been assisting this long? Or that,
mm,
especially if that's the only thing that they do. I'm like, come on now. Like, you really could. There's enough space for multiple people to do these jobs. Like it's just I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, it's not worth the sacrifice. It can be stressful sometimes. Um, you can't afford, or people are like they want to live a certain lifestyle, but they can't because they're always traveling to the next thing.
mhm,
And like, I mean, shout out to those who don't have children, but if you have kids, that's even
mm,
harder. That's
mhm,
even more sacrifice. Like I think about when I first got into getting back into commercial. I had my daughter. I started working at 3 weeks after 3 weeks postpartum.
whew,
I was like, I have to get back into this because if I don't, they're gonna forget who I am. That was my mentality. They're gonna forget me. I have to start again. I have to keep going. So I'd be changing diapers and packing my little bag at like 4 or 5 in the morning, dropping her off at my mom. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm going to sacrifice for this. This is like a dream. This is what I want for myself. But when you don't have kids, you don't see because we are literally on the same road, but
mhm,
mine's is a little bit harder.
mm,
Mine's is a little bit harder because I choose to be a mother. You
mhm.
know, I always tell my teenager. I have a 19-year-old, by the way. Tell my teenager, I have a huge age gap, by the way. I have a 19-year-old and I have a 4-year-old.
Okay, okay.
And I always tell my daughter, my teen, I'm like, I sacrificed my relationship with my relationship with you for my career
Mm,
so that I could try to make it a little bit easier for you later on. Now we're building our relationship, but I lived in New York for most of my time here in New York. She was with me maybe a year and a half that whole time. And I was here for 6 years. So she
okay.
came one time, she left, and she came back. I was like, this is not working. I can't raise a kid here.
Mhm,
And I mean, I was blessed to have a mother who was like, you know what, do your thing. She'd give me a hard time, but whatever. Do
mm,
your thing, make a choice, go for it. I get
mm,
it. Sometimes she didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Even still, she don't get it. I'm like, you'll never get it. I don't work for the government. I don't have a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I sacrificed my relationship with my daughter so that I can get to a certain point, because
Mm.
now she's interested in the beauty industry. Now she wants to be an esthetician. So now I have to think, all right,
Oh.
how can I get you like the good clients? Haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so you don't have to like work at some small time spa. Let's get you where you really need to be, because people need facials all the time on set. Let's get you on set.
Yeah.
So that's been like another thing too, that's working with her to help her figure out her path so she can go to beauty school. Because you got to get licensed around here. It's very
Yeah.
important, which is a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think there aren't enough people that actually talk about the reality of the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you've actually been able to have that conversation with her, to be honest with her and say, I know that I had to sacrifice my relationship with you in order to get to this point. And you might not benefit from the sacrifice until later
Mm-hmm.
when you need that support and that help, and I'm able to provide it. But a lot of people don't really talk about that. They make it look like kind of sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns
Mm-hmm.
all the time, and it's not that.
It's not that at all.
But I mean, there must be. You've mentioned this a bit earlier that there are people that you've wanted to work with that you really respect, that you've admired, and you've focused on trying to work with those people. So, who are those other stylists that have inspired you?
I mentioned Gerara, and then
Mhm.
Joey George, Holly Smith. I've worked with Youssef. He's really cool. Who else? I'm trying to think of more people. I said Danilo, Rob Talty. These are LA based people.
Mm,
Those have been I would say the main people that I've been really inspired by.
mm,
And when I think of um, Lacey Redway, she's another one. She was really inspiring. It was nice to work around a Black woman.
mhm.
Um, and then I'm trying to remember this woman's name. There was another one. No, I feel like I gotta go get my phone. But there's another one. There's another person. I'm trying to remember her name because I only worked with her one time. But it
Okay.
was a couple of times I was supposed to work with her again. She was a little bit different, like as far as creativity goes. But yeah, those are. I find myself in spaces where I'm really inspired by men.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's weird. I haven't worked with a lot of women. I've worked with a lot of men. A
Okay.
lot of men. Yeah. Holly is probably the only female. Yeah, she's the only female that I really worked with in hair.
Okay.
Um, because the Mac team is like a whole nother world of people.
Um,
Um, and then I worked with men and women on their side. But I
great.
feel like I always end up working with. I'm like thinking about it, like I've really worked with a lot of men, and I get hired again and again. Maybe because they're not emotional. I don't know. But I always get callback with men all the time.
Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe I carry heavy male masculine energy. Maybe that's what it is.
But I mean, I think there's also like sometimes people do just like naturally gravitate towards one or the other. That can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. I'm like,
Um,
as I'm saying, I'm like, dang, I have worked with a lot of men.
but
Weird.
I mean, it's also amazing to hear that you've worked with so many people that have inspired you because, again, that's a position that a lot of people want to be in. They want to be in the rooms with the stylist, with the makeup artist, with the people in fashion, with the people on set that inspire them because that's also what brings out your best work.
Yes, yes, yep.
So that in itself, the fact that you have a list of people is, or that speaks volumes that you've been able to work with so many people that have inspired you.
And a lot of times too, those people all have different type of creativity.
Mm,
So if like, I always am like, all right, if I have these 8 people that are showing me how to do a ponytail,
mm,
I have like 4 different ways. I have literally 4 different ways to do a ponytail because we have learned so many different ways to do a ponytail. Just
mm,
like how to do a French roll. Everyone does it differently. And
Yeah.
it's not even identified as a French roll, but the technique is how you would do a French roll. So
Mm.
I've just learned how to do so many different things. Yeah, like because I would always try to work on not the black models, I've learned how to blow dry in a certain way, how to make hair have a certain texture. I didn't realize how important hairpins were. They're very important. Like they're very important, literally very important. And some people have like 8 different colors, small ones, big ones, thin ones, long ones, short. Like I mean, I look at people's kits. I'm like, wow, you guys have a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. There's a lot. There's a lot of bags around us right now. But what inspires me is that they're just so versatile. They can do a little bit of everything, and that's what makes them
Mm.
powerful hairstylists.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
No,
grateful
that
to work beside them.
that's also a point for other people that are interested in breaking into the industry. Like you said at the beginning, versatility is key. Versatility and speed.
Yes,
Those
it
two things are really, really key, not just to getting in, but staying in. And I mean, but besides that, what do you think is the most important lesson that you've learned so far, having spent so much time in the industry?
is. What have I learned so far? I would say reading the room. Reading the
Okay.
room has been a big one for me.
Okay.
Um, I was in a lift. This is a story. I was in a lift with someone, this guy who worked on set.
Mm.
I don't know what kind of hypnosis he was trying to do. He was asking me like all these questions. I ended up getting all emotional in the car. It was a whole thing.
Mm.
And he was honest with me. He said, "Look, like as a woman of color,
Mm.
when you walk in the room, you're already a threat. You're already." And I was like, "For real?" Now I know this already. I know this about myself because I'm tall, I wear crazy hair. I know when you see me, it's like, oh, hi, who are you? Right?
Mm.
But to hear from a man, a white man who worked in production, it was like, oh, that really is a thing.
Mm.
And he was like, you have to learn how to read the room and stand in your power. I was like, I was shocked. I was in the car, like emotional because I was like, and I was going to this big job, and I was like, what the heck? Like, why now? Like, what is happening? But I feel like it was a blessing. It was like one of those moments, like, listen, I'm gonna put this information in someone's ears, and it's gonna come out their mouth because
Mm.
you need to hear this. You need to know that the journey that you're going on is great, but understand who you are when you're in those spaces.
Mhm.
And that's why I never become a sellout. I will never become a sellout because I know that my power is strong. And yeah, reading the room is very important. Knowing, like you watch people that you want to be like, and
Mhm.
if you don't know who to look for, you look
Mhm.
for the first assistant and the second assistant, and you
Mhm.
want to mirror and mimic how they operate. You're
Mm.
not going to be able to do everything that they're doing, but
Mhm.
if you can mimic and operate similar to them, then you're more likely to be seen. You're more likely to be and feel present in the space, but you have to know how to read the room. Another
Mm.
thing is if if you're sitting there, right? Let's say you're on a commercial shoot. If you're sitting there, you're not the lead, you're the assistant.
Mhm.
Your responsibility is to have ears listening. Because sometimes the lead doesn't have ears listening. He or she is working and trying to like, make small talk or like figure out, other things. Your job as an assistant is to listen. And a
Mhm.
lot of times it's listening to the producer or the photographer, or if you're on set, like the first AD or the second AD, because if you're on a film, because if you're not listening to what they're saying, you don't know if they actually like what you're doing.
Right.
And so now it comes back to you as the assistant because the lead person got the pitch deck. Like they got whatever the deck was for the day. They got the schedule. They did the test, whatever, right? They
Right.
did all of that. But if you can't read the room,
Mm.
you're not as valuable because they may miss something and you have to be able to catch it. So
Um,
it's very important to be a person that really knows how to read the room. You could be a shitty hairstylist, but if you could read the room and you could show up and show that you're ambitious and that you're motivated and you're there and you're present by at least having some type of responsibility,
mhm.
it's definitely reading the room is a big one. So I've learned how to really read the room.
No, that's a really great piece of advice. And I think it's something that people don't, until you're there and you've been in it and you've been in it for a while, something that people wouldn't even realize that that's one of their roles is to listen out and be able to act on the things that the leads can't hear because they've got so many people that they have to speak to. They're gonna miss things. It's
Yeah,
inevitable that will happen.
yeah.
So no, I love that piece of advice. And I mean also as a session stylist, there's, especially because you do a bit of everything,
Hmm.
there's so much to manage, from the clients to running the ins and outs of you as your own brand and your own business. Being your own social media person, being your own agent until you have one. So how have you tried to balance all of those things?
I have I've had some challenges. That it's I don't want to say that it's hard,
Mm.
but it can be hard.
Yeah.
Um Number one, I just make sure my kit is organized. I just make sure that is organized. I look at different people's kits and I try to just make sure that it's set up in a certain way
Hmm.
so that even if I don't touch it for a couple of weeks, I know my kit is ready.
Yeah.
As far as navigating everything else, I just ask advice if I can't figure out what to do.
Hmm.
And a lot of times what I used to do, excuse me,
It's okay.
a lot of times what I used to do is I would ask for like certain emails or whatever for jobs, and then I would create a template, customize it to the person that I'm sending it to, and then I would send it out in hopes that I would get a callback or get asked to work on a job
Right.
or follow up or whatever. Um, but I just really try to stay organized in a sense of like, as long as my kit is organized and I have all black ready to go, I
Hmm.
can email these people. I need to make sure that like my hair is done. I got some type of makeup. If I
Yeah.
don't wear makeup, I usually wear like some type of sunglasses or like some type of shade, so I don't look like I'm just blank faced. Um, and yeah, I just organize in a way where it makes sense that if I got called tomorrow, I could do whatever I need to do to make sure, like, even at home, I have like my bins organized. I have like all my
Mm.
hairsprays and conditioners and shampoos and color and whatever styling products. I kind of have it organized so that when I ask to work, I'll just open my kit and be like, all right, this is for curly hair. This is for,
Mm.
if they have blonde hair, this is for hard styling. Especially if they
Mhm.
give us a briefing like the day before, if they have like a kit list or like they send us a picture.
Right.
The other thing is if we're sponsored, we don't necessarily have to bring everything because ideally the person that is leading has worked with the products, and so they're going to tell you what to use if you don't have whatever's in the streets, if
Right.
it comes to like black hair products or whatnot. I always make sure I have like a pressing comb, edge control, wax. Like there's just certain things
Mm.
that, because I know I'm hired a lot of times because I'm black, I'm like, well, I'm gonna bring black products because y'all
Mm.
gonna have everything else.
Right.
So yeah, so that's pretty much how I do it. And I just have patience with myself. I'm actually working on, my daughter's probably going to take it over, working on having someone manage my social media so that I
Um,
can push the bar a little bit more.
yeah.
Because I have one, two, three pages. Two of them I use the most.
Right.
One because I sometimes get products or whatnot to do like influencer stuff.
Okay.
Um, and then I have my other one for my session hairstyling, which is like super basic, straight to the point. And so I'm gonna have my daughter start working on pushing the bar so I can get more I'm trying to create a job for her basically.
Okay.
She asked me, she was like, "Mom, you should let me, manage your website or your socials or whatever." And I was like, "Let's do it. Let's
Mm,
try it. Let's see if it works." And so with that, my goal is to be able to create a job for her where she
mm.
can assist me and we can be able to be a dynamic duo on jobs.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an amazing thing to have and to be able to do with your daughter, with your child, bring her in a
Yeah.
way that she's really interested in, but also in a way that allows you to manage your business really effectively because being a social media manager is a whole job of its own.
Yes.
And getting her involved in sets and on set so that she can see what that world looks like to see is this the world that I want to be a part of, so
Yeah.
she can make that decision sooner rather than later. Creating space for her to have that experience is an amazing thing to be able to do.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And if you could give, the hairstylists in the world, those that are really want to get into, they're hungry to get into editorial, fashion, film, what is the one piece of advice you would give them for those that are trying to break in?
Hmm. I would probably say learn every texture you can learn.
Mm,
Learn everyone's hair. No matter who you are, no matter you're black, white, Asian, Latin, learn everyone's hair because there's nothing worse than being on a job and finding out that someone can't do something, especially when it comes to, I'm going to say 4C hair. I'm just going to call it what it is.
mm, mm.
Because a lot of times there's trauma that comes with hair for
Yeah.
black women. There's always a traumatic experience in their life, in their journey,
Hmm.
where they were mistreated because of their hair texture. So
Mm,
I would say that people need to really learn different textures. Even if you never touch it,
hmm.
even if you never do the hair, but if you know that you're an option, you'll gain more respect that way. And even for me as a black person, knowing how to work on straight hair, thin hair, wavy hair, it has put me in a lot of great spaces because I've learned how to work on different hair.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if I just throw it in there, is you have to look like something. Like you don't just come to the job dressed in sweatpants and a t-shirt and some
Mm,
Crocs. Yes, I said it. You gotta look like something. Like image is so important. Image is so
mm,
important. You don't want to look like you just rolled out of bed.
mm.
Occasionally, like I mean, I've wore Crocs on set and they're like cute platform Crocs, but like really, there's still cargo pants. There's a t-shirt. There's a biker coat. Like there's something. There's other elements to it,
Mhm.
and it's really important that as a hairstylist that we look like something because the makeup artists already look like something because they
Yeah.
got to wear makeup, right?
Yeah.
So we got to make sure our hair is done. We have a decent manicure. Our clothes are
Mm,
clean. Even if your kid, you're still building it and it's a mess, whatever. You
mhm.
yourself, you have to look polished. It's so important to look polished.
Yeah. No, presentation is key. And especially the presentation of the thing that you're working on. Like if you're in hair, your hair has to look good.
Yes. Yes.
If you're in makeup, you've got no choice. Your makeup has to look good.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
So no, I mean that's a great piece of advice for all of the people that are up and coming stylists that listen. And I mean this is my last question, but
Yeah.
finally I can imagine how many things that you've been involved in, how many projects that you must have been, working on. But
Yeah.
what is the next big thing for you?
Well, I'm working on a big event today. I'm looking forward to it. It's actually something that I prayed for and was hoping that I could be a part of because it's going to be a historical moment in the industry. And I'm grateful that I work beside someone who believed in me and was able to bring me on the team to be able to create some magic for the event. And yeah, that's yeah, that's the next thing.
I love that. And I mean, what we will do is when we have more on that, we will share that in our newsletter as well. But what we'll also do is add the links to your socials so that people can check out those events and they can see what that was for today. But I mean, thank you so much, Jules, for all of your time. I really appreciate having you on first thing
Thank
in the
you.
morning. So thank you. It's been so amazing to have this conversation. I know that so many people would have gained from just hearing your story, what you've been through. And I mean, if we can, through these conversations, help one person, two people, three people make better decisions so that when they're stepping into these spaces, they're prepared, that's one of the purposes of these podcasts. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you've learned along the way.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for creating a platform that is really inspiring, and it's really going to elevate and change the game, just really opening the doors for other hairstylists, especially like we out here grinding, we out here struggling, and so it's nice to be able to have a platform that is going to have our voice, and we're heard. And just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you.
No, thank you. Again, it takes both of us, so I appreciate that as well. And I mean, for anybody who's listening, if this has inspired you or if it's provided you with something that's meaningful, please share. The more that we share, the more other people can hear this as well. So, like, share, comment. Like I said, we will leave website, socials for Jules so that you can connect with her, you can follow her and see more of her journey as it unfolds as well. And I mean, if there's anything that you would like to hear us talk more about, then please leave that in the comments so that we can bear that in mind for future episodes. But again, thank you to Jules. Thank you to everybody who's listening, and we will see you on the next episode.
Nice. See ya.